Hey, it's Amy Newmark. I'm off this week because I'm finishing up our books that are coming out for the Christmas season. So this week, we are rerunning the 4th week of the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast from back when we started and we didn't have as many listeners. Chances are you haven't heard these episodes yet, so I think you're going to enjoy them.
Changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Tip Tuesday. That's when we talk about an easy-to-implement, life-changing tip from one of our stories. What I love about these stories is that they're written by regular people, and they pass on their best ideas to us. And these are ideas that regular people can use. We don't have to jump through hoops to implement these ideas. There are no classes, no sweating, no waiting. These are things we can do right away that will make a real difference in our lives. So in our last podcast, we talked about Esther Griffin, who lived her life a different way when she was told that she had only 1 year left to live. And one of the things that she did during her last year, because she was searching for greater meaning in her life, was to volunteer. She decided to help animals and people. So when Esther was confronted with her own mortality, that was what came into focus for her. What her life boiled down to was to help others. I think that's a pretty strong message, and it ties into today's tip, which comes to us courtesy of Shannon Anderson. Her story, A Deed a Day, was published in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Find Your Happiness. And here's what happened. As Shannon describes it, one evening she was cooking and doing laundry. Her kids were squabbling over whose turn it was to let the dog out, and her husband was annoyed that dinner wasn't on the table yet. Everyone was in their own little silo, caring about their own life and their own tasks, and Shannon was upset. She says, "We had become absorbed in our own activities and not very considerate towards those around us. We needed to do something to bring back some meaning into our lives. It needed to be something that would refocus our own agendas and energize us toward the common good." So Shannon purchased a journal, labeled it Our Deed Diary, and held a family meeting. She told her husband and daughters that she wanted them to start doing something kind every day. It could be for another family member or for someone outside their home. The purpose was to reduce the focus on themselves and to brighten someone else's day in the process. The family defined a good deed as doing something nice for someone else when they weren't expecting it. It could be as simple as making a card for a teacher or going out of your way to give someone a compliment. They would discuss their good deeds over dinner each night and record them in their good deed journal. Shannon says it was harder than you might think to come up with their good deeds each day, because it had to be something they didn't normally do. So if they would normally send someone a birthday card, that didn't count. And if the girls would normally help their mom with a certain chore, that didn't count. These had to be new good deeds outside of their normal lives. After a few weeks, they got the hang of it, and Shannon says it has made a difference in their family. She says, instead of always wondering what the day will bring for us, we think about what we can do for someone else. At dinner, we have an instant conversation starter as we all share our stories. And Shannon decided to take it to her first grade classroom as well. And the kids in her classroom have begun by writing letters to the people who work in the school to thank them. Shannon says it was most touching to observe the janitor, nurse, librarian, and other school staff hang our notes on their walls while beaming because they felt appreciated. Now Shannon's class tries to do 3 good deeds per day, and she says it has transformed these first graders. Shannon says, who would have thought that trying to do a simple kindness a day would be so rewarding? I love that story. It's such an easy way to change a family dynamic, invigorate a classroom, and instill lasting values in kids. And kids or not, what a great way for you to brighten your own days. You don't even have to write it down. You don't have to keep a diary. You just have to decide each day that you'll do one little thing for someone else. It might be as simple as opening a door for someone or picking up a piece of trash that wasn't your piece of trash. It could be as simple as letting a mother with a squirming kid go ahead of you in line at a store. It could be something like picking up an extra coffee for someone at work. So that's our easy tip for this Tip Tuesday. I'm Amy Newmark, and I want to thank you for listening to this Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast. Please let your friends and family know if you're enjoying it and teach them how to use podcasts if they're new to podcasts. We'll meet again tomorrow for Wow Wednesday, which means we're going to share a very cool story. This week, it's going to be about a startling dream that will make you think differently about your own dreams. And if you'd like to read more stories and life tips from the book I mentioned today, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Find Your Happiness, then please go to our website, chickensoup.com.